energy and found her father was in his study. She headed toward the door in the corner, but a hint of something off, something dark, brought her to a halt. Frowning, she swept her energy out in a more detailed scan. A chill trickled through her at the echo of death magic. The barest hint that someone less familiar with the place, and someone less skilled, might miss. Strongest in one spot. There. Dria glanced down at the place her magic had carried her, and the ice inside her grew. In the smooth floor, a single flaw stood out. A chip in the stone. The place where Kian had been beheaded by their father. "Ferian?" One of the Ralan whispered softly from behind her. Dria stiffened, hating the title, but unable to refute it. Until she worked her way up the ranks at the Citadel, daughter of the king was the best she was going to get. But it was a good reminder. Her older brother's death and life had marked their family, but she didn't have to let it rule her future. She would meet with her father quickly and return to her work. If she worked hard, she might be promoted to third in command of her mage group within the next decade. "I'm going," Dria said, as she resumed her march toward the door in the back corner. Let the Ralan believe her to be rude and haughty. Everyone else here did, and she'd grown to appreciate the benefits of that opinion. They might whisper about her, it was true, but now that she was an adult who'd passed her mage test with ease, they also tended to leave her alone so long as she ignored them. Dria entered the study without bothering to knock. Her father would have sensed the surge of power from the portal, and the guards would have notified him that she was here, particularly since she was already late. Sure enough, he was in the process of standing as the door closed behind her, leaving the Ralan in the throne room. Her brows rose as she glanced around, confirming what her magic scan had already told her. They were alone. This must be something momentous, if neither Tearc nor her mother were present. Enil hated to miss anything concerning her children, and Tearc often acted as their father's assistant, despite no longer being heir. The king's posture held a defensive, uncomfortable edge, but that wasn't new. He hadn't quite known what to do with her for centuries. Dria stopped on the other side of his desk. The broad expanse of wood wasn't the only thing separating them, but it was easier to consider than the 300 years of missed holidays and forgotten mirror communications. Not that it mattered. The father who had carried her on his shoulders around the throne room was long gone. She inclined her head in a formal gesture and then waited as they studied each other in silence. The lines around King Alienar's eyes had deepened, and his once black hair was now mostly gray. Her heart lurched at the change, despite her less than charitable thoughts. The toll of grief hadn't been as obvious when they'd spoken through the mirror. Or was it more than grief? Had anything else happened to affect such rapid change? Perhaps she should come home more often. "Good morning, Dria," her father said tersely. "I'm gratified that you have finally deigned to answer my summons." She drew her shoulders back. "I had a mission to complete." "According to Lady Fens, you were reinforcing the cooling spell set into a minor lord's cellar. Hardly life or death, and not something you are suited to besides." He had her there. She'd hated that mission, which had taken her away from her combat practice. But they weren't exactly at war. Sometimes her group ended up doing less urgent tasks. Work was work. Fire might be one of my strongest elements, but that doesn't mean I can't use others. "I do have a little proficiency with water," she said. "And the task was important. The food stores were at risk."